Well, good morning, everyone. This is Keith with Positively Osceola here about 9:35-ish on a beautiful Thursday morning in October. And nothing better to do this morning that I could possibly think of than to hang out with two extraordinarily creative leaders from the school district of Osceola County. And we're going to get right at it this morning. And that's Joe D'Ambrosi down there, Dr. Joe D'Ambrosi, and of course, Dr. Chris Burns, both immense leaders in the county. And I say that because if you step back and look at what's happening in Osceola County in the school district as far as arts, you have to look to these two gentlemen because they are in a position of guiding this district down the path. And, you know, I've said this before and sometimes referencing Osceola Arts with Bree Stefik. I don't know of a community that's growing, it's evolving, that's changing for the positive that does not have a strong creative arts sector in it. It makes a huge impact on a community. So thank you both for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us, sir.
It's always simple to do these shows.
Yeah. Easiest thing in the world.
Even though I said I wouldn't reference that. Hey, we're going to, because I think you guys you're slightly time constrained, I'm going to hit our little official intro and then we'll get going. Sound good to you?
Sounds
Let's do it.
Plan.
Here we go with. You know, sometimes that intro reminds me of that movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, which is Inception, because somehow in the physics of the universe, that tempo speeds up and slows down, but yet the pitch stays the same.
Yeah.
Thought I'd point that out since you guys like have the creative thing going on. So I'm gonna just send it over to I guess Chris, because you're to my left in the Brady Bunch fashion thing we got going on. Why don't you just kind of lead off and kind of just begin this talk about what's happening in the school district of Osceola County in the creative arts sector, I'll call it.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, I wish we had 12 hours to talk, but
you know it.
There's some really cool things that are happening right now. We have some students from Tohoba-Calaga that are performing at Dr. Phillips tomorrow night. They're doing a spoken word kind of workshop. They've had a performing artist in their school all week, and they've worked with that performing artist to build up their product that they're going to be showing off tomorrow night. We also have 8 students from Celebration High School Marching Band that were asked to perform in the Macy's Day Parade for Thanksgiving, which is a huge honor. Our School for the Arts, Osceola County School for the Arts, is going to be joining an arts network, an art schools network, which is basically art schools from all over the country are part of this same network, and it really helps them to better themselves in both the arts and academics. We have a partnership right now with the Orlando Ballet. They're coming into a lot of our schools. They're at East Lake, they're at Pleasant Hill, COA, St. Cloud High School, a couple others. And they're working with those students to bring dance into the classrooms and also movement. And that goes from pre-K all the way up to 12th grade. We have students that are going to be attending Central Florida Ballet's Nutcracker in just a couple weeks. We have the Orlando Philharmonic coming in to our district to perform for our 5th graders in just a few weeks for the Young Persons Concert, which is an incredible event every year where every 5th grader gets to see the live orchestra, which is something they wouldn't normally get to do on an everyday basis. It's up in Orlando. It costs a little bit of money, but it's free for our students that we have some money that we pay for that through our district. So there's a lot of really great events, not including shows that are happening from theater programs, recitals, chorus concerts, band concerts, visual art shows, all those things.
You know, I've been saying for a couple of years, and you and I have been talking about this, Chris, you know, I think sometimes, I mean, certainly we have outside of Osceola County, when you reference Dr. Phillips, and there's so many other communities that are just rich with creativity and arts. But if you were a person that said, I don't ever want to leave Osceola County. I don't even want to drive out to get gas by mistake. I want to stay right inside this county. You could be exposed to some amazingly high level theater, music.
100%.
If you did nothing but rotate around the county, the school district, and just experience each individual school. I'll turn this to you, Joe. That's been the case, I think, for a number of years. But now, I'll speak for me and for Positively Osceola. I love the rich blend of humans that are coming into our county. And with that, I'm seeing more and more creative people, young people that are super creative, and I'm seeing highly inspired teachers working with those kids. So, Joe, how do you stay ahead of all that, and how do you, you were at Liberty, and so how do you, and you were the theater department, how do you look at a gigantic, and Chris and I talked about this yesterday, how do you look at this gigantic county with so many folks coming in that are, like I said, rich with creativity? How do you manage that and try to keep that thing focused in a forward direction? How do you do that?
It's so interesting because our district, our county is huge, and yet within the county are communities, right there that need various different things, and each school meets those needs. So what we were producing at Liberty is very, very, very different than what the theater program is producing at St. Cloud or at Harmony. So The really cool thing about our school district and the arts programs within our school district, especially at our middle school and high school levels, is that there is something for everybody, if of course you're willing to travel down 192 to go and find it. So That's the really, really cool thing, is that, and all of our teachers have their own specialties as well. A lot of our teachers had a professional working life in theater, in music, in the visual arts before they were educators. And so they bring their own personal expertise into the classroom as well. That was my experience. My experience was not teaching secondary education, but I brought my experience as a theater artist and theater scholar into the classroom and was able to give my students something different than another teacher with different expertise might be able to give them. So it depends on where you go, what you want to see. There's always something for everybody.
And you mentioned earlier that you're able to go back to Liberty and see those kids, and in a few years they'll have moved past that particular.
I don't want to think about it, Keith.
Yeah, I know. I mean this in a positive though. And I think that's a testimony to, because you obviously care. That's a testimony to how much an inspired, passionate teacher cares about those students. They go through that trajectory one time, and that would really be weird for me, because I tend to not love change. I don't embrace that really big in my life, and those kids are constantly moving forward. But you have enough time as a teacher to forever impact those kids, forever change them. When we talked to Chris yesterday, and maybe we should talk a little bit about that, you see these kids that come in possibly timid. They maybe just seem like an easy class to be in, and then it inspires them, and they're changed forever. Forever. Chris, why don't we talk a little bit about that? You both can talk about that a little bit if you want to.
Yeah, we talked a little yesterday about students coming into a classroom, whether when I was in the elementary classroom or Joe in the high school classroom, they come in and they might not be comfortable in their own skin yet. They might not feel comfortable speaking out or singing, performing, whatever it might be. And our goal is to take this human being, this amazing, awesome person, and get the best from them. And hopefully, and usually by the end of the year, they've opened up. They're either singing in front of people, they're dancing in front of people, maybe even just reading a monologue in front of the class is a huge, huge step for some of them. And so it's a very rewarding thing as an educator when you see that, and it's something that brings joy every day when you walk into a classroom. And even in our jobs now, where we see that growth, He's still fresh out of the classroom, so he sees it a little closer than I do. But students that I had in the elementary classroom that might be in high school that are in chorus or in band or doing anything with the arts, and we reference back to the days of old, so to speak, when they were in my class, and talking about the things that they really enjoyed and helped them to see their true selves.
And so we're kind of focusing on, I want to throw that to Joe a bit, but we're focusing on the students themselves, but how about the instructors? How about the different teachers, like say, like Alex Moore in St. Cloud, or Tammy Combs over at St. Cloud, or any of the different band instructors? How do you meet the needs of the instructors and their different kind? And you're kind of smiling because that's not probably an easy gig.
No,
But how do you meet? Because these
yeah,
are
let us know.
well, they're creative folks, so it's not always easy to
Right.
to nail it, right? So, and they're
Right.
hugely varied. How do you meet the needs of those instructors? Because from them, because they're kind of that conduit, right? How do you meet the needs of those different creative people that are in charge of these students? Joe, why don't you take that one?
It just, for me, it starts with building relationships with them. You know, every school is different. Some schools are older than others, and so you have to kind of know the teachers, know what it is that they want, and be able to prioritize those things. And also, you know, one of the things that Chris and I are trying to do is create opportunities for our teachers to continue to learn and grow in their pedagogy and in their after school programs. One of the things that we're doing is partnering with UCF, which is a mecca of arts excellence, and it's right in our backyard. And a lot of our students in Osceola County tend to go to UCF or go to Valencia and then transfer to UCF. So one of the things that we're working on right now is creating professional development opportunities for our teachers in collaboration with the visual arts, theater, and music professors at UCF, so that those professors can come in and do a workshop for our teachers that will equip our teachers with the skills that they need to know in order to prepare their high school juniors and seniors to prepare for their college auditions or college interviews. Every school, every arts program requires different things. For theater, it could be anything from an interview to an audition to a portfolio review. Visual art is usually an interview or portfolio review. Music is typically through auditions. And so these professors will mentor our teachers to give them the skills that they need to know to implement those things into their teaching so that their students will be ready for those interviews and auditions. So it's just providing opportunities like that across the board to support our teachers, and then building relationships with them so that we know how we can support them on an individual level.
So do you feel like that's a great, I would think it is, and that's a great, what you said, I really enjoy what you said. Do you think that has the possibility of increasing retention? Because, you know, I think when you feel fulfilled as an instructor, then you don't want to leave. You don't want to look around. You're there, right? I mean, you've got the students. You want to make that impact on the students, and you're receiving, I don't want to say attention, but you're receiving, you know, the resources and maybe some attention from.
That's the goal, yeah.
It matters.
Right. Yeah, you want to try to get it from both sides for their retention. I think if a teacher feels respected, and I can speak from my own perspective when I was in the classroom. If you feel heard, respected, wanted, I think that helps with retention and on both ends, because same with your students. If you feel that from your students as well, you're going to want to stay in that classroom. If you find that happy balance, I mean, you found the golden egg. But I think our job, part of our job anyway, is to fulfill that support factor for our teachers, making sure that they have what they need when they need it. And while it's a very difficult task, I think we try pretty hard and somewhat successfully to do that.
Let me ask you this, and I know you only have a few more seconds probably. So what I've noticed over the years, I know when the district made the move of having the Osceola County School for the Arts, and certainly in Point Siena, that's same similar scenario. I noticed, and I may be wrong, I noticed that, you know, obviously a lot of creative students and students interested in art were moving that way to those schools, and I saw a little bit of that. It obviously pulled some great creative folks away from some of the schools, but I'm seeing now is all the schools receiving or seeing an increase of arts-based students, those that are just passionate for arts. I just went to Tehopa, not quite in the performing arts area, but I went to, as you know, Chris, I went to Tehopa Galaga, and we did a feature with Jenny Mohez over there, who's also at Valencia. She is crazy awesome.
Amazing.
And, yeah, she's great. And you feel it in the school. What's that?
She's an unofficial arts teacher. We claim her.
She's CTE, but honestly,
That's right. Yeah, she's all about creative. When you talk to her, it's about 3 milliseconds, and I'm like, I'm talking to a creative human right now. And
right.
She was great, man. And you see more and more of that in so many different schools now. So I think it's a testimony to what's happening district wide, and you guys are affecting that.
Well, I think also, and for lack of a better term, competition breeds innovation. So every school wants the best students, obviously, and we're a choice state, so students can choose where they want to go for school. And so I need my program to be just as good as the next program, just as good if I want to keep those students coming to my program.
Right.
And we're very lucky where we have educators in our district that are incredible and do amazing things, and each educator does it their own special way, which is another great thing. There's no prescribed method in our district for this is how you're going to teach it, and this is the only way to do it. For us, and this goes back to curriculum writing, we say by the end of the year, this is kind of what your students need to know. You design your own pathway. And some of our teachers have just found amazing ways to get to that end point. And we're just very, very lucky to have some great theater, dance, music, and visual art teachers in our district that I would say rival any other district in the state.
Sure.
And I'd say too, a lot of administration that are eager to get those programs into their schools if they don't have them already. Mm-hmm. So working with our district leaders to be able to make sure that those funds are there to hire more dance teachers and more theater teachers to get more enrichment of the arts.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. It's a huge deal. And we all know, I mean, you guys know, because this is your gig to the max, but it's study after study shows academically, academics are impacted positively by the creativity side, right? By music and all that wraps up in art. So, so why not open up the financial coffers and dump it to the creators?
Right. Exactly. Give us more. Just give us more.
I mean, and we need to get out to see more. And I know we're running out of time here. We as a news media outlet, we need to not wait to the end of the year when things start happening. We need to support you guys more. We keep saying we're going to, and then some pandemic happens or a hurricane.
I know, right?
It's crazy. But I'll be quiet after this and let you guys close. But last year's graduations ceremonies. Loved hearing. We couldn't, not everybody was able to have their vocal ensembles perform, but I know Tammy Combs from St. Cloud had hers, and it was awesome. And I thought, well, that's going to be the highlight of this particular year's ceremony. And then Harmony's vocal ensemble came up. We put both of those on Positively Osceola. I know Harmony. I can't quote the number for Tammy's group, but I know Harmony had, I think it was 3.4 million views on just the Star Spangled Banner. And it may have been 4 or 5 seconds and they started singing and you realize you're about to hear something very special.
Right.
And that is, and the same thing with St. Cloud. That is typically what I see anytime I can be exposed to what's happening in Osceola County with the school district's creativity. So kudos to you guys for working it, man. It's a big deal. Big deal.
I mean, we do very little in that aspect. Those teachers.
But we'll take it.
Yeah, I'll take the praise. I'll pass it on to them as well. Just go to any high school and listen to the choirs, listen to the bands, and you're going to hear some amazing things. Mm-hmm. Walk through the hallways at some of these schools, and the visual artists have painted the walls and put up portraits. walk into one of the dance rooms and just watching their warm-ups is incredible.
Yeah.
Some of the things they do during warm-ups. Again, for example, St. Cloud, and there's slight bias here, but St. Cloud's dance program, they're at the Orlando Ballet today, watching the Orlando Ballet perform, and then they're coming back to St. Cloud High School, working with them, and they're going to be putting on a show after that. So there's just all of the arts up and down the gamut are growing and creating some incredible things right now.
Joe, go ahead and, if you don't mind, go ahead and close this out for us. And anything you want to say?
Oh gosh. We've got so much going on. I don't know if our contact information is available, but we can make it available. We could send it to Keith or whatever. And
Sure.
if you want to know what's going on in Osceola County, feel free to reach out and we will put you in contact with the schools and we will get you entertained for sure.
And on Facebook, is it it's Facebook SDOC Arts, correct? Or fine?
Correct. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Okay, so we'll put all those links on there. I wish we could spend another 40 or 50 minutes, but that's not happening this time. So please, if you have time, I hope you'll come back and we'll do this again.
Let's do it.
Absolutely.
All right, I appreciate you guys very much for being here today. I know your schedule is tight, and we abused that a little bit extra this morning.
No
so
worries.
That's all right.
Always glad to be here.
Thanks for being more cool than I am, which was easy for you, of course.
Oh my.
All right, everybody. Again, this is Keith with Positively Osceola, along with Dr. Joe D'Ambrosi and Dr. Chris Burns, both from the School District of Osceola Counties. They are both research specialists with resource specialists with the School District of Osceola County's Fine and Performing Arts, together making a positive difference in and around Osceola County. Thanks, guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.